Oh, this is going to be a good one.
You're listening to Pete the Planner.
This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. You're emailing us financial questions, things you wonder about. And we, which means me and my friend Damian, who you'll meet here in a second, we answer those wonders and we change your life. And you become a billionaire, guaranteed. And then we work for you. Hi, Dame.
Hi, Pete.
I don't know. Weird day, my friend. Weird day.
It
What if
feels
I
like
did
we've-
the... Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like we've done this.
A little deja vu. First questions from a guy named... I'm not going to share his name, but I'm going to share his subject line. Just bought a new home and instantly regret it.
Read on.
Hello, and thank you for taking the time to read my message. I recently sold my home due to the fact of wanting to get a bigger home in a neighborhood for our kids. I'm usually a very smart financial person, but somehow I really screwed this one up. I was thinking about the positives for my family and not thinking about the negatives when it came to the finances. I bought the house 2 or 3 months ago, and I can already foresee this is not going well financially. I do have around 80,000 American dollars in equity in the house since that was my down payment. My question for you is, do I stay a little bit longer and fight through it for a year or two to build up more equity, or since I can see the writing on the wall, should we look to get out now? Please let me know your thoughts, and thank you so much. So, Dame, wow.
Yeah.
It's not good, man.
No, that's got to be a horrible, horrible feeling.
You know, the first thing that jumps out to me, though, what makes him think he was right in the first place, or what makes him actually think he was wrong in the first place, and what makes him think that he's actually wrong now, which is to say, maybe he's just got buyer's remorse, but things are fine.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and after I bought my first home, there was that period of panic that set in. Now, this isn't his first home, but still, I think there's some leeway to be had there, that you're settling into your new reality and you're running through all the things that could potentially go wrong or go bad, or this needs taken care of and attended to. And oh my gosh, I made a huge mistake. I think that's totally natural.
I do too. It's the same feeling. I remember when you first started working here, that
Mhm.
feeling of, oh my gosh, what did we do?
Yeah, what in the world did I just sign myself up for?
Right. Oh, this is going to ruin everything.
Slightly older, but much better looking. He's in here all the time. Yeah,
But it worked out.
it did.
So
So-
here's what I want to understand with this, though. Is his financial concern built around the idea that now he's got a bigger house, so he didn't calculate the utility and upkeep costs? Is it property taxes and insurance? Is it now we got to furnish a bigger home? Or, Dame, there could be something slightly more sinister here. What if he tried to convince his significant other, who he didn't mention throughout the email other than the word our, what if he tried to convince her this was a good idea? And when it was all said and done, he did it because he thought she would be happier. And it really is a terrible idea. And now he doesn't want to know what to do, including not including her name in the email, because this is a giant stress point for their relationship. What do you think about that?
Well, lucky for you, that is not the type of question we answer. So we'll see you next week on the Pete the Planner Show.
All right, so let's answer his question. Should a person in this situation, let's say he's right, which I'm not convinced he is, but let's say he's right and he should move. Should he do it now or should he do it later? What about this idea of wait a year or two to build equity? Dame, unless he got a 5-year mortgage, I don't know if that's going to make any sense.
Yeah, I'm not buying that one. I would love to know what part of the country he's in too.
Yeah. Ooh, I think I got an area code here. Let's take a look. 781. What's that? You want to do a little research on the fly here?
Yeah, sure. Let me be your fingers on Google here. Hang on.
I've always wanted you to be my fingers on Google. What are we talking about?
This would be the suburbs of Boston is where the area code is.
Oh, man, that's an expensive mistake.
Yeah.
This takes on a whole new issue here. Number one, he's probably a Patriots fan, so I don't care what happens to him.
Huh.
What do you think now? That's definitely a 30-year mortgage, guaranteed.
Oh man, I would expect it.
So there's
Man.
no way you hang on longer in a mortgage you shouldn't have when it's a 30-year mortgage, because like none of the equity is actually building because your payment is going to pay towards interest.
Yeah, you're not going to make up any significant ground between now and the time frame that you've laid out to maybe hold on to it. And the other wrinkle that nobody probably really wants to mention is that housing's done pretty darn well for a while, and if the economy turns south, you might be stuck with something.
Yeah, that's the old risk reward. Did you
Yeah.
hang on and let it grow based on the market being hot? Or in doing that, do you create more risk? Here's the other thing. Let's say he's cash flow negative right now because of utilities or other
Mm-hmm.
expenses, and remaining cash flow negative for month on months, just out of a speculation of an equity increase. I don't think that makes sense, Dame. So here's where I'm at. First of all, I'm not so sure this is not just buyer's remorse, which is very common.
Exactly.
But let's say he's right and it's a terrible idea and he should bail. Bail now. Go out now. There's no reason. It's what is it? Fire slow, higher fast. Wait, fire higher slow. What? How's it go? What do you do? How do you run a business?
Hire slow, fire fast.
Right, that's what they say. It's been a day. It has been a day. But at least we're not recording at the crack of dawn like we did last week, which I thought was a good show.
It was Grumpy Peter, but that's okay.
I don't think late afternoon Peter is desirable for
Now
anyone.
we've tried that a couple times, and it has been a treat every time we've tried
Mm.
late afternoon too.
I don't think so. If I treat, if you're anyway, what's you with the information we have, he's got to sell now, right?
Yeah, I think if it is indeed a legit mistake,
What a nightmare, Dame.
yeah, I mean just the upheaval your life goes through when you're making a move and making these decisions,
Oh,
and you just finished it, and you still aren't settled with it, and there may be some legit reasons on the wall that you gotta make a decision, and you might have to put your whole family back through that process.
oh, listen to this though. He said 2 or 3 months ago they did that. That was at the beginning of school. What if his kids just started at a new school?
Oh man, I hadn't thought about that.
Oh, this is not good. Is that your phone again?
Again, you know what?
Dame, it is now 1-0 again for
Yeah.
electronic devices ruining the show. It's not like we had to start the show 5 times because of my malfeasance. Dame, this is messy because they're going to lose the realtor fee in selling the home. And then where do they go from here? How do you recover from this? I wish we had a good radio show to call to ask.
Yeah, well, you make a very well
Oh.
considered home purchase for the next one.
Do you rent to get back on your feet, or at that point you're just wasting more money given his stability?
He's in theory, I mean, he's got 80 grand in equity, roughly. I mean, if he can sell the home okay and capture most of that equity, figure out where this one went wrong. Was there something that caught you out that you weren't expecting that you can plan better on for the next home and avoid this scenario the next time around? Maybe it's a simple solution to this, and they can still be in a home. I'm not sure renting is the right answer.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful on that next purchase. I mean, you're walking a thin line at this point.
When my dad used to yell at me when I was a kid, and I'd be, getting ornery and it'd be getting worse, like I'd be escalating my hyperactivity, he would say, "You're walking a thin line, bucko." Just like that. And you just said thin line. Made me think about it.
Well, sorry.
I feel like I should call this guy. I feel like at this point I'm trying to just date my emailers. I'm just calling all these people.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how many is that just going to be part and parcel of the show now?
I don't want to start calling people. I don't want to talk to anybody. That's why I'm talking to you. You're nobody.
Remember, he's a Patriots fan.
Right. Forget him. Bet the house. I'm sorry. Okay, coming up after the break. Actually, we have a downer of a topic coming up. Job loss. That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Back on the Pete the Planner Show. Dame, next question comes from a reader. I don't know if we can use his name or not. So I'm just going to make up a name. Are you good with that?
Yeah, let's can I pick?
I think so. Go right ahead.
How about let's go with Mike.
Dear Pete and Damian, good day, mates. Oh, he listens to the show.
Mm,
I would like to first and foremost thank you for your podcast. It's very refreshing to have found a finance investing podcast that is funny and entertaining while still being informative. All right, so Dame, I'm obviously the funny and entertaining and informative. What are you?
I am the one in disagreement with you. I think I am the funny and informative one.
I enjoy the dynamic that you both have with one another and can literally envision Damian rolling his eyes multiple times throughout the show at some of your comments. Okay, and moving on, Mike. Keep up the great work, blah, blah, blah. I'm 33 years old, making around $125,000 in Cincinnati, Ohio area. I can't talk, so this will make for good radio. My wife is a stay at home mother, and we have 2 children. We currently have around $110,000. That's US dollars, the emailer notes. Oh, dang, this is good.
Man.
In our retirement accounts, which is all tax prepaid. Currently, I'm saving around 25% of my gross income, maxing out my work Roth 401k, as well as maxing out 2 Roth IRAs set up for my wife and myself. My question is in regards to attempting to figure out our percentage of income needed in retirement. In my mind, we will enter retirement with no debt, including our mortgage, which currently amounts to about 15% of our gross income. In addition, retirement savings eats up around 25% of our gross income currently. I won't need to pay much in the way of income taxes in retirement because we're investing tax prepaid in Roth vehicles. So, in my mind, that would mean our family, assuming the same standard of living, could live on 50% of our income or less, as this is what we're living on now. Is 50% an acceptable number for calculating our retirement savings needs, or am I missing something? Thanks in advance for answering my question, and I look forward to hearing your answer, Mike. Dame. Wow, this guy.
I like Mike.
I want to be like Mike. Okay, so on the surface, a lot of times in retirement planning, they throw out just all sorts of numbers when it comes to how much of your income will you need in retirement based on what your career earnings would be. And the number that I always remember hearing was 80%. Is that
Yep.
the number that you always worked with?
Yeah, I think that was the standard for a long time for most people, just to have something to shoot at 80%. So roughly what most people live on now after their income taxes are taken out. So 80% of what your salary is roughly what you live on.
And I always had a problem with that the more I got into financial planning. And I really felt if you do it right, if you attack the problem from both sides, both a supply of money and a demand for money, you could really get down to around 60% pretty easily by eliminating your mortgage. But our man Mike here takes it to a completely different level by focusing on Roth vehicles because he just gets taxed completely out of the way, which means he's not going to have to pay tax at retirement.
Yeah, it's an interesting little twist by making sure that variable is taken out of the equation in the future and taking care of it now. So if you don't have to think about that or take that consideration in, then goodness, you might be onto something here, Mike.
So we always talk about in our world how much, from an asset standpoint, what are your assets, and then what's the distribution rate off of this. But on some level, and Dame, you sent me an article last week about maybe there's some idea about how much of your current income you're actively saving, and thus eliminating that money from your expenses now, and how that might be a better measure altogether of someone's financial fitness, which is why I like our term power percentage. For regular listeners, they know that power percentage is how we display the efficiency of our income, no matter what our income is. Dame, could we actually be right here for a moment?
It really, I had to read the article twice that I sent you because it seemed like we were right on top of something and ahead of somebody else as well. Let's make sure we point that out as in addition. So I think there's something to this that we focus on something a little bit more in control in the now than necessarily something that we aren't sure we're going to have an idea of in the future.
I say the phrase a lot and the cute little turn of phrase that follows it, but I believe people who retire successfully will be able to do so because they don't need a lot of money, as opposed to people who think they're going to be able to retire because they have a lot of money. And I think with what we're talking about here, Dame, we're talking about in the moment. This guy's 33 years old. He's decided he wants to create a scenario in which his glide path of career income is smooth and there's no increase of income need heading towards retirement, hit retirement, and then dive off the cliff because you've consumed so much money via lifestyle creep.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, there is one variable that we can all control for the most part when we get to retirement.
Okay, let me guess this. Okay, hold on. Say that again. Sounds like a riddle. Are we doing riddles?
I, possibly.
Okay, guys, set it up. I want to win.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there is
Yes.
one variable that we can control as we enter into retirement. For the win, what is it?
Our demand for income.
Yeah, how much money do we need to live on inside of retirement? There's lots of stuff that we aren't going to have control over. That's inflation and rates of return and all that other stuff with the money that we've accumulated. However, we can control the demand for money. How much money do we need to live on from a month to month, week to week, year to year basis? And that can have a huge determining effect, not only on our sanity, but our success in retirement.
Isn't it interesting to think that we spend decades trying to accumulate money and we don't have much of an operative strategy built around our demand for money?
It is interesting. Oftentimes we focus on more income, more income, more income with a little bit of savings on the side, but maybe what we should be doing is focusing more on the spending side of the ledger and saving side of the ledger than just the accumulation as well.
I like the idea, though, that sometimes we look at how people uh, strategize for retirement and they say, well, it's really about what investments I have, and it's really about the fees I pay, and it's about all these things that you kind of can't control, although you can choose, obviously, what advisor you want and the fees you'll pay that person. But Dame, it's success is in a person's personal reach. It's not all these factors that they can't control. They can control their demand for money.
Sure. Can I let you in on a little secret?
Please do.
If you're in a well allocated portfolio, the actual investments that you choose, assuming they fit each of the types of investments you're trying to account for, the actual investments themselves don't count all that, don't matter all that much. So you don't need to spend a whole lot of time trying to find the absolute perfect investment for that specific area in your portfolio. Find one that works. Make sure it's still maintaining itself year after year, but don't don't stress yourself out over making sure you've got the absolute best investment.
Are you suggesting people eat sensibly and work out on a regular basis?
Yes. Yeah. Is that groundbreaking?
Well, no, it always comes back to that, doesn't it? Like we'd like to, oh, what's this app will help you. Just for everyone, relax. Like we got to focus on the standard behaviors, and I don't know. I wish it were more complicated than that. But what's so complicated about it? It's difficult to execute a simple plan sometimes. And I hate it because it has to do with our behavior and human nature, but it's our reality. Dame, coming up after the break, let's talk about job loss. It's the holiday season, which means people lose their jobs. Sorry, bro. I don't come up with these things. It's just the way it's come to be in the last 2 decades. So, job loss around the holidays, what to do, how to pick up the pieces. Well, that's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Back on the Pete the Planner Show. Dame talking grooming during the break.
Well,
Sounds like you had quite the shave here recently.
it's something that I am very, very conscious about my personal grooming, and the experience I had was is enjoyable, but the results not so much.
When you talk on the phone all day long and answer emails from people all over the country about their financial lives, you want to look your best.
Hey, look your best, feel your best, Pete.
Dame, it's that time of year again when Bad things can happen in the workplace. I don't want to be Dunny Downer here, but the reality is it is no longer the fruitcake, which can soil your year end plans. Dame, it's layoff season, brother. It is layoff season. And a couple weeks ago or a week ago, no one knows, in the Indianapolis Business Journal, I wrote about this. And lo and behold, did I not wake up this morning, open the business section, and the top four articles, and by open this business section, of course, I mean on a laptop, the top four articles were all about mass layoffs. Dame, there's two ways to get to profitability: revenue and cutting expenses. And when people try to hit bonuses and hit particular markers and they don't hit the revenue number, then they have to trim the workforce. And that is what's happening. Dame, it is a horrible time of year to lose your job.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you're exactly right. It seems like it's becoming more and more common. And you know what? Unfortunately, I expect to field some of these phone calls and questions.
Now, you might be thinking, am I setting you up by letting you know that there are a lot of layoffs and it's not unusual to be laid off?
Yes, I mean that thought did cross my mind. This is a very uncomfortable topic for me to have my boss talk to me about. This could be a well, it would certainly be replayed on various media forums about somebody getting laid off live on air. But I'm hoping that's not what's happening.
Dame, I ask you here today to do your performance review. No, listen, uh, when you find out you lose your job, it's always a bad thing. I'm not doing a bit. I'm back to being serious. Um, but it's also especially horrible when you get to the holidays because a lot of emotions involved. You think of your family, you think about stability, you think about providing a nice experience, whatever holidays you happen to celebrate. And that's especially tough when you don't have income. And I know, Dame, what disappears when someone loses their job is their income. But what I want to focus our time on here today is about everything other than their income. Maybe we'll hit the income at the end, but reality is, Dame, when someone loses their job, they lose their benefits. And that is especially troubling in light of healthcare expenses today, in light of someone's possible insurability based on their health whenever it comes to disability insurance and life insurance. Dame, maybe someone is leaving a company that had a great pension or a great retirement plan. So let's start with health insurance. Dame, what are some things you can do? You find you're getting laid off, you feel like you may have some leverage to negotiate something. Can it make sense to actually try to negotiate how long your health coverage lasts?
Sure. I mean, it's the first thing you have to realize is that it is going to be most likely drastically more expensive for you, whether you take a company provided option, which is a Cobra option, or if you have to go out on the open market. So prepare yourself. Now, you might be able to help yourself with the expenses somewhat if you can negotiate part of that in your package, but um, it will be more expensive. So just be prepared.
Yeah, I think the Cobra insurance you often hear about is pretty interesting. Cobra stands for the Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. It's a health insurance program that allows an eligible employee and his or her dependents the continued benefits of health insurance coverage in case that the employee loses their job. That's a very valuable thing, and it's pretty decent coverage. Now, some people choose, like you just said, though, they can't afford it. So then they go into the marketplace because it is a considered to be a qualifying act, and they'll get cheaper coverage. But Dame, that coverage can be so drastically different in quality and scope than it can be is more stressful, than the added cost of the Cobra coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you may have a family member who has some very specialized needs, and you may have to choose a policy that is not what you would ideally hope for, and you're going to start incurring these costs that you haven't had to foot the bill for. And so this just adds yet another layer of stress on top of what can be a very stressful season for people in general.
I know this is weird, but when I look, we've worked with people, hundreds of people who've lost their jobs before. I mean, I've worked with thousands of people. When Carrier plant shut down back in 2016, we did a lot of work around that. Dame, it's not always about the income, but it's things like what's going to happen health insurance wise. But then it turns into, are you stressed enough and or are you too stressed, right? You have to have the proper level of reaction for the moment. And I find people sort of underreact to job loss, or they overreact and create a lot of trouble for themselves. And this is my way of saying, and in a very unhelpful way, don't panic, but try to match the occasion, which is a bad occasion, to the proper reaction. And Dame, that's where a lot of people miss the boat with this.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the time of year compounds the issue for most people because you've got all these plans with your family, and there's going to be parties that you're going to, and people are going to ask you how you're doing and what's going on, and you're going to have to address the issue, and uh, so the time of year and the stress that goes along with that just adds to the complexity of the situation. But you're right, there needs to be a proper motivation when you lose your job to just start go finding something else, but don't let it be debilitating at the same time.
Let me see if I can quiz you, just like you quizzed me in the last segment, and see if we can come up with a good answer here. Dame, where is the number one source that people turn to when their income disappears and they don't know where to turn for money? Where do most newly, freshly unemployed people turn when it comes to this scenario?
Is there an answer that you know to this?
This is anecdotal.
Anecdotal. Anecdotally, I mean, I would say unemployment, but I think you're probably going for friends and family.
I was no, so this failed miserably. I was going I was going for sometimes people just liquidate their retirement account, and they live off that retirement account as it stretches on.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. And by the way, we don't want anyone to do that.
No.
We want to be the absolute last thing that someone does, but I see it all the time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I guess maybe we should have done some show notes maybe beforehand. That'd be novel, but
But you see that more than anything else, don't
no,
you?
you're exactly right. People will say, "Well, you know what? I don't have anything going on, so I'm just going to take this one-time distribution from my 401k to make sure I can get through until the next job starts kicking in there."
I don't know why I thought about bringing this up right now, but I'm about to salt every open wound on the planet, especially for people who've just lost their job. This gets especially bad, Dame, is when someone has a 401k loan
Oh
and they
yeah,
lose their job.
absolutely.
It is the worst possible scenario.
Because what
So
happens?
what happens?
I say, what
Go
happens
ahead.
then, Pete?
Well, what happens is, Dame, thanks for asking. You owe tax on what is then considered a withdrawal because you can't pay back the loan once you lose your job. So you owe tax on the outstanding loan. So if I've borrowed $50,000 from my 401k, please don't ever do that, and you lose your job, then I owe, and I've not paid any of it back. Let's say the week before times are tough and I borrow 50,000, I will owe at tax time tax on that $50,000 withdrawal.
Yeah, technically you do have 60 days to repay it after you lose
Then
your
where's the
job.
money coming from, Dame?
I no,
Where's the money?
I know, but I'm saying
You're
you
right. You're right.
got
You're right.
60 days. So, maybe you hustle and you go find that other job, and I don't know, maybe you find a way to make $10,000 appear out of thin air. But you
Okay,
do
so let's say you do have 60 days to repay the loan at your job termination, correct?
correct.
Okay. And then at that point in time, you owe tax on it. That is
And
reason number what?
and penalty.
And penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. This is why we don't want people to take 401k loans, not because we're afraid you're going to lose your job. Although if you do, it's going to be the worst thing that's ever happened because you just compounded your problem.
Yep.
So here's why, with 10 seconds left, let me just say this. If you lose your job and you need some help, just email us. We're going to help you. We're not going to charge you. Ask Pete at PeteThePlanner.com. That's my promise. Come up after the break. Biggest waste of money of the week and more. I'm Pete the Planner. Back on the Pete the Planner Show, Dame. It's this week's biggest waste of money of the week every week here on the Pete the Planner Radio Show. We identify the biggest waste of money of the week. We are heading into Thanksgiving season. And Dame, that means Black Friday is nigh.
The most hallowed time of year.
It really is. And that means people are going to be out shopping for things, big discounts. And Dame, usually I tell people not to spend money but I have a gift idea for this year. This week's biggest waste of money is the best use of money of the week, and it's something I tried when I was in Des Moines last week. Dame, I have never been more thrilled in my life to do what I'm about to tell you to do. Have you ever used a virtual reality headset?
For like a minute at a time, but not for an extended period. Yeah.
How long ago was this?
Oh, 2 years ago.
Okay, Dame, I'm at my friend's office in Des Moines. He said, put this over your face. And I thought, well, he just doesn't want to see my face, which could be true. It is what's called the Oculus Quest. It's an all-in-one virtual reality headset with these little paddle shifter things you hold in your hands. It's a wireless, completely wireless. Dame, this thing is life-changing. It's $399 or $499, somewhere in there. Life-changing, Damian.
So, what experience did you have in the Oculus?
I actually went on a date. No, I'm just kidding. Here's what we decided, my friend and I, Troy. We decided that if you're single and you just live completely by yourself and you can live in your own world, it might be the greatest invention of all time. Why, you say?
Why?
Because you can, wherever you are, you've got the world's largest TV in your face. So you put these goggles on, and the way it all works is like you can watch like Netflix or watch a movie, and you're watching it on this screen, even though it's just little goggles. The way the optics work, it makes it look like you're in what are those called? The
IMAX.
IMAX. It makes you feel like you're in IMAX and you're in the movie, and it's like it feels 3D. I was watching a professional basketball game from courtside, and as you turn your head, dude, you just look around like you're there. It was insane. I
So
I don't spend money
it's
on stuff like
live?
this, but yes, you can watch live TV on it. You can watch, replay of games as well. There's a camera on top of the basketball goal, so as the ball is like coming at you, and you can look around the court in real time. It is absurd. I don't think people should spend $500 on things like this. Other than this, it is
Yeah.
amazing.
I think you should spend $500 on this for The Office.
I feel like productivity might go down, Dame.
It's a chance that I'm willing to take.
Oh my gosh. It's the greatest thing ever. If I was single and I didn't want to talk to anyone for the rest of my life, it sounds great, actually. No offense, anybody, especially my wife. I would get the Oculus Quest all-in-one virtual reality headset. This gets my highest endorsement for something I probably will never buy. I tried to explain this to my wife, how great it was, and I think she started to get a complex about like my relationship with this thing.
Do they have video games for this system yet?
Oh, it's funny you ask. I'm not a video game guy because, again, I like people. That's not going to go well. That comment's not going to work.
No.
Anyway, amazing video games on it. Amazing. I was fighting Darth Vader, a little sword fight action with lightsabers, of course.
Okay.
All sorts of different games you can play on it. You can do boxing. You can get some other loser with a headset, and you can box with them.
And just not get punched in the face.
Right. You stand at a good distance. Dame, the Social Security retirement age could go up. Everyone knows that. But I was reading a story this week on CNBC. They've got great news stories when it comes to money. And there was one number here that blew my mind that I did not realize. And that is, now I got to find it. Listen to this. If the full retirement age is raised, and the earliest age to claim stays the same. Okay, so earliest age you can claim right now is what, Dame?
62.
The normal retirement age for most people listening to the show, 1960 and after, is age 67.
Mm-hmm.
It was at 1944 to 1953 is 66, and you add some change in there. Anyway, no one cares, right? Did I mess it up?
Nope, you got it.
Okay. And then the max age is 70. But Dame, if they move the age up to like 72 or 75, here's what happens. If they keep the earliest age the same when they do this, which is what they're likely to do, when you're 62, you will receive less benefit. Right? Of course, once you think about it, that makes sense. But before you think about it, you're like, well, Why? It's because your Social Security pool of money has to be spread out over a longer period of time. So they're going to have to pay you less. So this is going to take people's financial planning and turn it on its head if that's the direction they go. Of course, their only alternative is to move 62 back to like 64 or something like that. But then that throws a lot of financial planning on its head when it relates to people planning a pension and how that Social Security can give that pension some relief a couple years into retirement.
Yeah, this is no small uh, action that they're planning on taking. You think, oh, what's a big deal? You just pass a law, you move the Social Security retirement age, and there it goes. But no, this is much bigger than a simple snap of the fingers.
I don't know whether your opinion or my opinion matters on this, but do you assume for people our age that your Social Security age will move back?
I'd like to say, yeah, that I do expect it, but looking at all the gridlock that we've seen in Washington, D.C. for the last 2 decades, I'm not convinced that they're going to do anything productive in the foreseeable future.
Google will begin offering checking accounts to consumers next year as part of its push into financial services, reports the Wall Street Journal. The product, currently codenamed Cache,
Mm-hmm.
I never know how to say that, will be run by Citigroup and a small lender, Stanford Federal Credit Union. It's old curmudgeon opinion time here on the Pete the Planner Show. So if you will allow me, Dame, this is not a good idea.
No, I mean people get up in arms about the Big Brother watching over all their data, and now they just want him to be in charge of their finances and have all of the keys to the kingdom. I'm not sure why people think this is going to be fantastic.
Do you think this is primarily being talked about because we happen to be in an era, be it short or long, of deregulation, where there's anything goes, sort of that libertarian approach of, the government should have no sort of impact whatsoever on rules of law and those sorts of things. Do you think that's why this is happening right now?
It could be, but did you just say that government shouldn't have any impact on rules of law?
Never mind. Probably should not go to where I was about to go
Okay.
on the show. But no, but the idea of regulation, I mean,
Sure.
regulation and law are different, but deregulation is about removing barriers so that free trade can be free trade. And I would say that this is a nasty byproduct of that. The large tech companies getting involved in financial services is a giant mistake. And this is, again, Mr. Curmudgeon, Pete the Planner. That's my opinion.
I think there are plenty of fine institutions, not necessarily large institutions, but plenty of fine institutions that you can choose to do your banking with. And technology companies, maybe not the best route for them to try and find another foothold in our lives.
Dame, I hope you have a good Thanksgiving. When we go around the Thanksgiving table at my house this year, I'm going to tell everyone I'm thankful for you, Damian Dunn. And my family will say, "Is that a relative?" And I'll say, "Nope, no relation." Dame, what is your favorite, as we close here, what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish? What is your favorite food to consume on American Thanksgiving?
I like dark meat turkey, to be perfectly simple.
Wow, I did not expect you to say that.
Sorry.
I don't want to rate your answer as good and or bad, but that's a bad answer.
Well, I like corn casserole and green beans with
Okay,
bacon.
there we go. These are better answers. Sides are better answers.
Okay, well, if you would have said what's your favorite side, then I probably would have done that.
I
Deep
just thought you
fried
had
deep
better
fried
taste.
turkey I like too as well.
That's a better answer. Fantastic. You know what I like?
Ending the show.
That's all we have time for this week. Sending you good vibes because good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner. This is the show.